Hey there, everyone. It's Rob Ryder. And today is Thursday, the 17th of April, 2025. And today, well, Social Security card is national ID, but you don't have one, nor evidence that you ever applied for one. And instead of having a Social Security card, well, you have a counterfeit. And apparently, there is a counterfeit receipt available to show that you applied for one, but it doesn't have the right form number on it. So let's dig into this a bit, and I'll just show you what it says. And it says what it says. We need to find somebody to do something about it. But basically, nobody who's been issued this thing they believe to be a Social Security card has the document that was intended for them to have when they created the Social Security Act. So, I am Berlusky Robert Allen, DOD ID number 12112800006, an indefinite enlistee in the U.S. Army. Also known as Rob Ryder. My email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. You can find other things that I put, postings on X, these videos on YouTube, as Rob Ryder with 3 B's, or Rumble for videos with Rob Ryder with 2 B's. And with that said, let's see where we're at. Hang on just a second. So to begin with, well, what should we have, right? And for that, it's on the Code of Federal Regulations in Title 20. So it's 20 CFR subsection 422.520, which is forms related to maintenance of earning records. And Title 20 Chapter 3 has to do with the Social Security. So you can see there's SS4, SS4A, SS5. Heard about those before. And down here is the OA702, which is the Social Security number card. And that's the number that should be on the card that you believe to be a Social Security card. And they used to be, but they're not anymore. The point is that this is still in the regulations as of, this was up to date as 4/15/2025. So the Social Security Administration isn't following their own regulations. Go figure, right? But going further down here, I guess I haven't really studied each of these completely, but the other one that stuck out was OAAN 5028, which is evidence of application for Social Security number card, which is the OA702. Well, they don't have that either. They have some other card that they'd like you to believe is that, but it's not that card. They would tell you, this is under the SNAP program, right, that it's talking about. You have to have an SSN for participating household member. Individuals want to participate in SNAP who do not have an SSN, do not know if they have one, or are unable to find one, must apply for an SSN with the Social Security Administration. Proof of application for an SSN from SSA is required before initial eligibility determinations. Generally, the SSA uses the receipt for application for a Social Security number, maybe form SSA 5028. Right? It's got the same numbers, but got a different abbreviation identifier. As proof of individual, apply for SSN. So generally, that's what they're going to give you, and well, then specifically, that's the wrong thing. And as we're going to see that, back when they started this, you were supposed to get your Social Security card from the post office. Did everything there. Now we're sending the form to the Social Security Administration. It's like they have made themselves the middleman in something that was set up before, and they're taking our entitlements and giving us, the scraps. It's a hell of a world we live in. And really, there's nothing else for me to tell you. That is the gist of the video, right? That you can go to 20 CFR 422.520. It will tell you what the Social Security card number card is supposed to be, and it will tell you what the evidence is that you applied for one. And I'm going to show you now just some history to show maybe we'll find out what happened in between, because This isn't happening anymore. So this is a little something I found on the Social Security Administration website, talking about the first Social Security number and the lowest numbers, and the lowest number. Not that that's so important, but what they had to say was, so since the Social Security Board did not have a network of field offices in the late 1936, it contracted with U.S. Postal Service to distribute and assign the first batch of Social Security numbers through its 45,000 local post offices around the country. Of these 45,000 post offices, 1,074 were designated as typing centers where the cards themselves were prepared. The procedure for issuing the first SSNs were that the SS4 application forms were distributed by the post office to employers beginning Monday, November 16, 1936. So what is an SS4 form? Let's go look at one real quick. Okay, an SS4 form is an application for employer identification number. It's to get an EIN number. So that was the first step in this thing, right? It was for the employer to get an EIN number. So if you worked your way around the Social Security website, you would end up at this page where I talk about original Social Security number application forms. And you can see that the original one had a count number on it. Well, they don't say that anymore. That's the first thing. But also it has on here what the form number is, and the one they have now doesn't. Well, what I wanted to show you is if you find this particular page, you can come down here and see what the original forms were that were being used in this. The SS4, the SS5, the OA 702, you know, those kind of things are all there. So we're talking about the SS4 form back in the day. And it looked like this, which is nothing like what the new SS4 form looks like. But what it said is that they were asking how many employees you had. I want to see if it says it on here. It sure does. Approximately number of persons now employed. I don't know that the new form asks such a thing. I could be missing it, but this is the SS4 form. I don't see anywhere about the number of employees on here. So, you know, they've changed this form also. But, I don't know how much that matters. It's all wrong. It's just one more thing that's wrong. All right, so back to this, right? The forms ask for employers to indicate how many employees they had at their place of business. Well, they used to. So using the data from the SS4, the post office then supplied the SS5 form for each employee, and these forms on which the assignment of an SSN was based were distributed by the post offices beginning Tuesday, November 24, 1936. The completed SS5 forms were returned to the post office, where an SSN would be assigned and a card typed with the name of an SSN. Well, anymore, isn't that done at the hospital? Right? I mean, we're not taking anything to the post office. I don't remember doing anything like that. Anybody else? No, it was all done by somebody else. A middleman did it. That's my point. You got the middleman involved, and they're taking it to the post office. So this step could happen one of several ways. The person returned the card in person and wait while the typing center prepared their card, or they could hand the form to the local letter carrier, or they could put it in the mail. Okay, so you could just hand it to the local carrier. You didn't have to mail it. So here's my form, or you could actually mail it. It doesn't say where to mail it to. Once the SSN was assigned and the card typed, the local carrier then returned the card to the place of business as a piece of regular mail. So they didn't send it to you, they sent it to your business because you had to be working to have a card. In the original, when it was first set up, I mean, it discriminated against certain classes of people, like self-employed. They didn't get a Social Security card. Why does everybody get one now? Apparently, we're not doing it the same as they did from the beginning. So the record of the SSN assignment was sent to Social Security headquarters, Baltimore, Maryland, where the master file of Social Security numbers would be kept. So if we've ever got a Social Security number, well, then it'd be in Baltimore, Maryland at Social Security headquarters. So the first card was issued sometime in mid-November from one of the 1,000+ post offices Didn't really know who it was. In theory, the first card should have been issued on November 24th, but there had been reports of cards showing earlier dates. It's not clear whether the cards of the early dates were actually issued on that date or some post offices predated some of their cards. If the 45,000 local post offices followed their procedures, no cards would have been issued before November 16th, and none would have been issued, or could have been issued before November 16th, and none should have been issued before November 24th. But here again, there is always a possibility that some local post offices failed to follow their instructions. Well, that would be a court-martial offense, right? They were derelict in their duty. Told them what to do. They had a procedure. They didn't follow it. Well, then they were a no-go. And then at another place, there's this much longer story of the Social Security number, like 20-some pages long. But this came off of the Social Security website also. And right, the use of the Social Security number has expanded significantly since the inception in 1936. Created merely to keep track of earnings, U.S. workers for Social Security entitlement and benefits computation purposes, it has come to be used as nearly universal identifier, national identity card. Assigned at birth, the SSN enables government agencies to identify individuals in their records and businesses to track the individual's financial information. This article explores, Well, part of that problem is when you contact Social Security or they contact you, look at what you get. I'm sure it's coming to you in a middle initial name, right? Robert A. Rutluski. Well, I don't have middle initial. And if you read other places in Social Security, they'll tell you that their definition of a legal name, they don't consider the middle name as part of your legal name. So if you put Alan, in my case, in the middle name box, then as far as the Social Security is concerned, my legal name is Robert Rutluski. There's no Alan involved. Okay, well then why are they sending it Robert A? Period. Right? Robert A. Rutluski. Does that mean that they're saying that's my first name? Or there is a reason for doing that. Okay, so anyways, how did the Social Security how did the SSN come to be and why it became an unofficial national identifier? They had their reasons. Just a couple little things I wanted to read in here. It'd be a lot quicker. Right, the original 1936 version SS5 would ask for these things: employee name, address, name of current employer. Is any of that stuff in an SS5? No, because they're giving it to you as a child. So you don't have an employer. You're self-employed, right? They say that a U.S. citizen is a business. It says that in Title 15. So you've been a business since day one. Well, here we go. The expansion of the SSN use began in 1943 with Executive Order 9397, requiring federal agencies to use the SSN for the purposes of identifying individuals in any new record system. Well, so then it was the President of the United States that said that the Social Security number card is national identification. But again, we don't have one. Then they did a thing in 1971. Task Force did some looking, and they concluded that the adoption of a national identifier is not desirable. Nevertheless, congressional legislation and federal agencies and regulations require the collection of SSNs for a myriad of purposes, as detailed in Exhibit 2. All these different things here. So basically, right, it's your national identification. That's why I don't ever want you to show it. And then they only put these last four numbers because technically that's not your Social Security card. It's part of a scheme. And then the History Channel did a little something on Social Security Act, and well, they had something to say. What is that little thing here? All right, so after signing the Social Security Act, President Roosevelt established a three-person board to administer the program with the goal of starting payroll tax deductions for enrollees by January 1st, 1937. Daunting task, but by November 1936, registration of the program began. Not everyone could participate, though. Self-employed professionals, field hands, and domestic workers were excluded. To become eligible, workers completed an application at their local post office and received a national identity card with a unique 9-digit identification number. Within 8 days of rolling out the program, over 1 million workers had Social Security numbers. All right, you're supposed to be done at the post office. But that ain't how it happens. It's happening at the hospital, and they're taking it to the post office. A little bit lower down here, what page was that? Oh, there we go, 6. So of the 45,000 post offices then in existence, we had over 1,000 first-class offices were designated typing centers to assign the SSNs, right? First-class offices. Who would know that post offices had first-class offices, 1,000 of them, so the rest of them apparently aren't first-class post offices, but that's the one most of us use. Right? You want to send first-class mail, I guess you got to find the first-class post office. Anyways, along with the 57 central accounting post offices to assign Social Security SSNs for the second, third, and fourth class post offices within the area. Okay. So, it's not just as easy as going to a post office. You had to do it a particular way. So the Social Security Board supplied these centers with office record form, the OA 702, a little dyslexia there, in a block of 1,000 with the account number pre-printed. Each registrant, postal employees typed the information from the SS5 onto the pre-numbered OA 702 in duplicate. Each OA 702 had a detachable portion on which the employee's name was typed and then returned to the employee. The Social Security card. Go figure. The post office mailed the completed Social Security card to the employer unless the employee had taken the SS5 to the post office in person and waited for the typed card. Each completed card was accompanied by an information circular briefly explaining the provisions of Title II, old age benefits, and so forth and so on. So, they gave them too many choices, and so I'm sure they messed it up all sorts of different ways. But the point is that the proper form is an OA 702, and that's never changed. It's just now the form they give you doesn't have OA 702 on it, and it's got a red number on the back. Did the OA 702 have that? I doubt it. But I bet you the OA 702 number is probably mixed into that red number on the back, and that's like a deposited file with all your information in it. That they know who you are. It's just they never given us the Social Security card. The Social Security Administration kept it so they could administer our estate to us. Because, what's the Social Security number for? Well, to me, it's an indication I have one share of the public trust. And this is interesting to read. So initially, only employees working in covered employment and age 64 or younger were eligible to obtain an SSN. However, almost from the start, state unemployment compensation agencies began using SSNs to identify workers, and some employers tended to prefer hiring individuals who already possessed an SSN. So, after a few months, the Bureau began issuing SSNs to anyone who applied. Instead of doing what they were supposed to do, they just did it on their own, right? They failed to follow instructions. Dereliction of duty. So anyways, the president has oversight of this because the whole idea of using it for identity was the brainchild of a president under an executive order. And so Trump has to enforce it and say, you guys got to do it right. But right now, nobody has the proper card. Whatever they're giving you now, unless it's got OA 702. It looks like this, and it says account number on it. If it doesn't have that, you don't have the right card. And we don't have that card. Uh, and so this is the back. And so this is the back of the card, and there is no red stamp number on it. I don't know if this reads the same as a new card or not, but anyways, I don't want to cover all that. I just want to cover the fact that I can't get past the front page. It's wrong. So we need it to be right before we really receive our Social Security benefits. Right now, somebody else is getting them, and we're getting the table scraps. If you got an idea, put it in the comments. All right, I'll have a great day.